Hey, this is Coach Reeves. Today I'm going to show you how to do synthetic division. It's a little easier than long division, but there's some things that are the same as long division that we have to check for, okay? So let's get into this and I'll explain it as we go. So when we do synthetic division, I'm going to ask you to only write down the front coefficients or the coefficients in front. So I have an invisible 1 sitting in front of r to the third. So we're going to write 1, the coefficient -4, the coefficient -13, and this constant of -12. Everybody see where I got those numbers from? Okay? Now we're going to write some numbers underneath there, so I'm going to give myself a little bit of space to write some numbers to work with. I'm going to put another line right here. This is going to be my remainder column. So whatever shows up here could be a remainder. If it's a 0, then I have no remainder. The next thing, I'm going to put a little box or a little bracket, and we're going to put a number here. And to determine what number we put here, we're going to take our divisor and put it equal to 0. We're going to say r plus 1 equals 0. We're going to go -1, -1, and we're going to get r equals a -1. That is the number that we want to put in our bracket. So we listed all the coefficients. We found our number that we're going to work with. The next step is I will ask you to bring down this first number. We're going to bring down that 1. And now we're going to multiply and then combine like terms. I will ask you to multiply and say -1 times 1. -1 times 1 is a -1. And then I'm going to ask you to add or subtract to combine like terms. This will give me a -4 and a -1 is a -5. So we multiplied and then added or subtracted. And we're going to repeat that process. We're going to go -1 times -5. -1 times -5 is a +5. After we multiply, we add or subtract to combine like terms. This will give me a -13 and 5 gives me a -8. Again, -1 times -8 is a +8. Combine like terms, -12, +8 is a -4. Only thing I need to do now is put in my variables. So what do I start with? How do I do this? Our original problem started with r to the third. We started with r to the third, and then we did what? We divided by r to the first. If we reduce that fraction, this will give us r to the second. And that tells us what variables and what exponent to start with. So this should be, my answer should be r to the second. This will be r to the first. This will be my constant. This will be my remainder. So what I'm going to write is, for my final answer, is r squared minus 5r minus 8 with the remainder of -4 over r plus 1. There's your answer. Remember, to determine what to start with, you take your original variable, your original exponent, divide, and what's left over is what you should start with. Okay? All right, let's try another problem. First thing you want to check, 4, 3, we're missing p to the second power. All right, look at that. 4, 3, 1, -14. So we're missing p squared. So what we need to do is we need to put a 0 to hold the spot for p squared. Because we're going to ask you to list all the coefficients. So you would start and say I need a 2, a negative 6, a 0 for p squared, a 4, and then the negative 14. Those are the numbers that we're going to use. Don't go so fast that you skip over and forget to put a 0 to hold this spot. All right, we're going to draw a line. Here's our remainder column. We need to determine what number we're going to work with to put in that bracket. Okay? So we're going to take our divisor, p minus 3 equals 0. We're going to set it equal to 0. Move it to the other side, plus 3, I get p equals 3. This is the number we're going to work with. Okay? Next, we're going to bring down the first number, which is a 2. So far, so good. Now we want to multiply and then combine like terms. So we're going to multiply, we're going to say 3 times 2 is 6. A negative 6 and a positive 6 leaves us with a 0. It's okay. Repeat the process. 3 times 0 is 0. When I combine like terms, I get a 0. 3 times 0 is 0. When we combine, we get a 4. 3 times 4 is 12. And when we combine, we get a negative 2. There's your remainder. Now we have to determine where to put the variables and what exponent to use for the variables. Our original problem was what? We started out with p to the 4th. And then we divided by p to the 1st. And when you reduce that, you're going to end up with p to the 3rd. You're going to end up with p to the 3rd. Sorry about that, new board. Okay, so we're going to start with p to the 3rd plus p to the 2nd plus p to the 1st plus 4. Now, we really don't need these zeros. We don't need those in the problem. So in my final answer, we're just going to write 2p to the 3rd plus 4 with a remainder of negative 2 over p minus 3. There's your final answer. Okay? Let's try one more. We're scrambled. We're all mixed up. We need to write this in the correct order with my exponents in descending order. So I'm going to write this as n to the 4th minus 7 n to the 3rd. I don't have an n squared, so we're going to go plus 0n squared. This allows me to put my 0 to hold the spot so I don't mess that up. I have minus 10n, and I have a plus 62. So we're going to list the coefficients. We need the coefficients, so we're going to say 1, negative 7, 0, negative 10, 62. Listing all the coefficients. We're going to draw our line. This will be my remainder column. We're going to put our little bracket. We got to determine what to put in the bracket. So we're going to take our divisor and set it equal to 0. We're going to move the 7 to the other side. We're going to go plus 7 plus 7. We're going to get n equals 7. That's the number that we want to work with that's in the bracket. We're going to bring down the first number. The first number is a 1. We bring down that, and then we start to multiply. We're going to say 7 times 1 is 7. And when I combine these, I get a 0. 7 times 0 is 0. When we combine, we get a 0. 7 times 0 is 0. When you combine, you get a negative 10. 7 times negative 10 is a negative 70. When you combine, you get a negative 8, and that is your remainder. Final answer. Well, we need to figure out what our variable is and the exponent. The original problem started with n to the 4th. And then we divided by n to the 1st. And that leaves us when we reduce to n to the 3rd. So what I should use, what I'm going to start with is n to the 3rd, n to the 2nd, n to the 1st, minus 10. Final answer. N to the 3rd, minus 10, with the remainder of negative 8 over, look at your original divisor, negative 7 plus n. That would be my final answer. That's synthetic division. Kind of quick. Please don't go so fast that you forget to put a 0 to hold the spot if you're missing that exponent. Okay? Synthetic substitution. If you can do synthetic division, you can do synthetic substitution. It is the exact same process. Okay? So, meaning it's the exact same process, except the only thing different, they have already figured out and told us what number to use in our bracket. That's the only difference. Look what we got. 3, 2, 1. We're in good shape. We're going to list the coefficients again. So we're going to say negative 5. We're going to say 6. We're going to say 8. We're going to say 9. We're going to put our bar. This is our remainder column. We've already figured out what number to put in the bracket. They told us. We don't have to add or subtract. A is already by itself, so we're going to use the number 2. We're going to bring down the first number as a negative 5, and now we start to multiply. 2 times negative 5 is negative 10. When we combine these, we get a negative 4. 2 times negative 4 is a negative 8. When we combine, we get a what? A 0. 2 times 0 is 0. And when we combine these, we get the number 9. That's your answer. This. When you do synthetic substitution, the remainder is your answer. This is all we need in the blank, or as far as your answer goes. That's it. Only the remainder counts. So you would just say 9. That's my answer. Synthetic substitution. If you could do synthetic division, you've already done synthetic substitution. Let's do one more. All right, so we check. 5, 3, 2, 1. What are we missing? We're missing a 4. So when we list our coefficients, we need a 0 to hold the spot. So we have a 1, but we don't have m to the 4th. So we need to put a 0 because we're missing our m to the 4th. So we go 1, 0, negative 14, 20, negative 5, and 3. Draw a line. There's your remainder. What number are we going to use? In our bracket, they've already told us that m equals 3. So we're going to use the number 3. We're going to bring down the number 1, and we start the multiplication. 3 times 1 is 3. When we combine, it leaves us with the 3. 3 times 3 is a 9. Negative 14 and 9 is a negative 5. 3 times negative 5 is negative 15. Leaves us with a positive 5. 3 times 5 is a positive 15. This leaves us with a positive 10. 3 times 10 is 30. When we combine like terms, we end up with 33 as our remainder. And that is the answer. That's all there is to it. The remainder is the answer. Okay? So, synthetic substitution is the same thing as synthetic division. The only thing you need to make sure your exponents are in descending order. And when you do that, you can discover if you have any missing exponents and you need a 0 to hold that spot. All right? Try it, see what you can do. If you have any questions, just email us and let us know. Good luck.